Hey everybody, this is Perch. One of the more puzzling things that I think I encounter on a regular basis where comic books are concerned is that people seem to need you to like something, which is weird because if you like it, then good, you're happy, you're satisfied. But why do you care if other people need to like it? And there's this strange phenomenon that comes on where a comic book comes out, and right now we're seeing this with Dark Crisis. So there's this very weird whiplash going on with Dark Crisis. So Dark Crisis is the latest event that is the all-time reality changing. Everything will be different after this big shift is happening. And the premise of Dark Crisis is the Justice League is dead. They've all been killed, which is fine. I mean, there's even a bit in one of the comic books where Nightwing is talking to John Kent, and Nightwing's like, nah, I don't think they're going to be really dead. And in many ways, Nightwing is talking for the customer, talking for the reader, who's like, yeah, I mean, Superman's been dead, Batman's been dead, Wonder Woman was dead like a year and a half ago. Like people are dead all the time, and then they come back, and so it's like, no biggies, and that's kind of in many ways it's kind of this snark. Anyway, storytelling. In wrestling, they call them smarks. So smart marks, people who are they're into it, but they know what's going on, and usually they're insufferably annoying. By the way, as part of that description. But Nightwing comes across as like, they're not really dead. It's fine. It's just another event in order to get a cash grab for DC Comics. And wait a minute, I just broke the third wall. That's how he's behaving, and he's correct. That's where it's going. So there's kind of a natural built-in like, nah, I'm not into it. Not into another Crisis. We just had death metal change the world forever, and then we had the future state. Now here we are. No, thank you. The heat is down, and the numbers are down. If you look at a lot of retailer groups, the numbers are way down, and people are pointing out, hey, it's not selling very well. It's not working that well. And I'm in some retailer groups, and this is where the whiplash came in. Is a bunch of retailers like, yeah, I've got way too many. I ordered light, and I've still got a ton on the shelf. Anecdotally, I went to about 3 shops over the last week here in the Dallas area, and all of them had copies. In many cases, lots of copies, but I heard the same story in person. I ordered light, and I've still got it. I still got comics. So in this retailer Facebook group, this comment comes out of, hey, why did Bleeding Cool put Dark Crisis as one of the top sellers for DC? Or sorry, top sellers for all comics. Why are they doing that? And there's some speculation because nobody knows where it's coming from. And keep in mind when Bleeding Cool samples like the retailers to give you when they say the top selling comics, they're talking to like less than 20 retailers, and they're getting kind of these anecdotal email lists, and then they put it together for you. There's zero actual math, science, or finance attached to any of this. It's like a tiny handful. I mean, I've beat up on Comics Hub for not being an accurate view of numbers. This is even worse, and it doesn't correspond to anything. In many cases, it's the person putting the list together at Bleeding Cool who's doing this, who's basically picking what they want to say is selling well, as much as the retailer's telling them. That's just what's going on. CBR does similar things, where it's like, this is doing really good, but it's not. It's not doing very good. I mean, it's early still, so maybe everything turns around. And for what it's worth, Joshua Williamson, big fan, like the guy, like his stories, think he's certainly solid. But it's not terribly surprising. And before I even get to the next bit, the bit of why are they pretending like it's doing well? Why are people insisting on doing well? Well, I think there's a reason, and we're about to go there. But it's not surprising if it's not doing particularly well, again, because we've been clobbered over the head with events. Like there's been too many, and in DC they've gone to the well of everybody's dead, like a lot less than 2 years ago. Everyone was dead. One in death metal, it's like the fate of the universe. Everybody's gonna die. That you can only pull that card out so many times before people are like, yeah, I think I'm good with this one. And the other piece is the promise of this event is like, hey, it's going to get a chance for these lesser known heroes, these new heroes, to shine. Well, one of the reasons comics gets big numbers is because people are buying, the established characters that they know. It's like there's a reason why Bruce Wayne Batman sells a lot, and if they have like Miguel over here, that was a Spider-Man, but anyway, if you have new Batman, well, no, you don't even need to do it. The current Jace Fox Batman does not sell as well as Bruce Wayne Batman. Does that mean that all the people buying the comics Bruce Wayne version are racist that won't buy a black guy as a superhero? Of course not. It means that Bruce Wayne's been around for decades. Jace Fox is brand new. When people love it or hate it, when people say Batman, they think Bruce Wayne. They think that because they've been trained to since before they were born. Bruce Wayne was Batman before pretty much anyone listening to this was alive, except me. No, I'm not that old. I'm just kidding. That's too easy. Don't hand material to Mumbles, Perch. What are you doing? Anyway, so look, it's not a big shock. And so this event promises, hey, everybody's dead, and it's another crisis. I know we just had an event. I know a bunch of people were just dead a minute ago, but they're dead again. And this time, it's the event's going to be headlined by a bunch of people who are fairly new and that you haven't heard of before. Buy it. And of course, the sales are soft. Again, this is not shocking. None of this is shocking or surprising. So why is it that people keep? Why do they want to pretend that it's bigger, better than it is? Well, unfortunately, because, well, two reasons. One, they want to own the internet haters. So if people come on and like, I'm not interested in this, I'm not going to do it, there becomes this backlash to say, no, it's actually the best comic in the history of all the comics forever. This is my Justice League. I'm into it. Give it to me forever. That's the effect that you get, and that's the effect we have here. The other factor is, yeah, this new Justice League is diverse. Everybody, it's the non-white male hero team. And unfortunately, if you're going to criticize that, then you've got people who are going to come in and want to defend it, not because it's good, but because, hey, you should like this. And that's what's going on here. I'm just bluntly stating it. Now, here's the part that I think is self-destructive. There's a chance this event turns out to be pretty good. There's a chance, and here's why. Here's the biggest number one reason why this event has a chance to be decent. Joshua Williamson is a good writer. He tends to tell a pretty good tale. So if he's writing this comic, if he's putting this material out, there's at least a solid chance that it's going to be good, that he's going to stick the landing, that it's going to, even despite the fact that we're tired of events, despite the fact that all these other things going on, he does good work. His general track record at doing comics at DC has been far more better comics than bad comics. So in many ways, though, this is the whiplash that happens, is people are tired of things for legitimate reasons. In this case, as everything I mentioned, cost, too many events, the characters were just dead a minute ago. Like, there's a lot of good reasons why people are going, no. But because they're saying that, and because there's a diversity aspect to it, the usual suspects have to jump in and go, no, actually, it's the best comic in the history of all the comics. And yes, that kind of exaggerated talking is happening. Absolutely it is. People always go like, well, I haven't seen anything like that. Well, good for you. You're not looking, and frankly, I envy you. But when you see things, and this was a commentary in the retailer group, it's like, why is Bleeding Cool CBR talking about this like this is a huge seller and doing well, and all other metrics, everything else points to the opposite? Well, because they need it to appear better. They need it to look like a massive seller. Same thing happened with Superboy, and Tom Taylor participated in this on Twitter, of like, no, this comic's actually selling amazingly well. It's like a huge bestseller, crash seller. Well, it wasn't, though. It's not failing. It's not selling like 5 copies. And to be fair, there were certainly videos and channels out there saying, it's a complete cataclysm. There's nobody has bought this thing. It's got negative sales. Certainly that is true. That kind of thing happens. But when all is said and done, again, completely unsurprising result. The issue where he came out, it got the national media attention, spiked up in sales, did well. The issue after fell, did not do as well, but still was up a little higher. And the issue after that had fallen back pretty much to where it was. And it's continuing its downward trajectory of sales like pretty much every other comic on the market today, because this is what comics do and this is what sales are like. Again, all this stuff is pretty predictable. And including the need for it to be perceived as more popular than it is. Unfortunately, like where I was going with all this is, I think ultimately this is pretty negative for the comic, because if there's one thing most people dislike, it's being told something that is patently untrue. They tend to reject it over time, and they tend to become bitter about it. Josh Williamson is a good writer, and he can put out an event, and maybe this will be good, maybe it'll be bad. Who knows? We'll see how it shakes out. A lot of good writers do events that flop. But if there is this dynamic of you have to like it, if you don't like it, you're some kind of bigot, that may work for Twitter. It may work for the 100 or so people that like to participate in a weird little circle jerk around that activity. But it doesn't work for the 95% of people who just want to come in, buy a comic, and be entertained. At the end of the day, either the story's going to work for them or it's not. And if it's kind of on the fence, it's kind of in the middle, like, the story's all right, but not the best. I don't know. But there's this surrounding fog of this, like it or you should be excluded from society kind of stuff. If that fog is sitting over this comic, people are going, the normies, quote unquote, the people in the middle, just opt out. And again, it's not really fair to call them people in the middle, because this is 95% of the comic buying audience. They just don't want to put up with this shit. There's plenty of comics out on the shelf every month, and the ones that have less drama, they're just going to go, all right, I'm not dealing with any of this, and I'm certainly not dealing with it for $4.95 and a bunch of crossovers. So, you know what? I don't need to see the Justice League die and come back to life this time. I'm just going to follow any of these other comics. Which, by the way, is probably a reason why Nightwing is outselling Superboy. Why Nightwing is up for awards and Superboy was not. Because Nightwing tends to be just a little bit more, entertaining. It doesn't have that stuff all over it. It doesn't have that fog surrounding it. And it's always weird when sites like Bleeding Cool or CBR participate in it. It's sad when the creators themselves jump in and want to throw some punches along with this culture war. It's stupid. All it does is have negative value. I look at a lot of the creators who really in 2016, 2017, 2018 were super involved and wanting to get in there and throw some punches and call some fans some names and everything else. Where are they now? They're gone. They're on the fringe or gone. The people who went really aggressive at it have been replaced by a new group who's going really aggressive at it and are too stupid to learn the lesson of their predecessors. But anyway, be that as it may. Well, here's hoping. Here's the funny thing in all this. For me personally, I like Josh Williamson. I think he's a good writer. I think he's a good guy. He's been a pretty good bloke, good person to talk to. I hope he does well. So I wish for success for him. Pull this one out of the bag, Josh. Let's see, somehow make this an event to remember. Here's hoping, man. I'm rooting for you. So odds are stacked against you, but I am rooting for you. Thanks for listening.